Hey, everybody, and welcome to Fancounters. My name's Nick.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And Elizabeth, it feels like forever since we've been in the studio.
Yes, it does.
Which it's because it has, because we've had a lot of episodes pre-taped. So I was very excited to actually come down this week and just start getting some fresh content.
Yeah, I am too. We've got some pretty spectacular people coming down the road.
We do. We have been working feverishly at booking new guests. In fact, I think I have the rest of the year planned out with guests.
Outstanding.
Which is awesome. We're going to have a country music star that I'm sure you've heard of coming up in December. Also, we're going to do, remember my friend Brandon? We talked about him during the Mike Pfeiffer interview. He's going to be on the show in 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Talking about what it's like to score a movie and act in it. He was also in Will and Grace.
Oh.
And that show just came back in September.
I love that show.
I'm actually interested. He was in the first one, not this new one, but we'll get to talk about that. And then we've got some twins coming on the program.
Oh, you know all about twins.
I'm very excited about that. So a week and a half ago, we had Halloween.
Yes.
It's always it used to be a horrible week in my house because there's so many trick-or-treat events throughout the month of October. I got Halloweened out. I mean, we trick-or-treated last year like 4 or 5 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it wasn't really about the candy. It was like, hey, let's go to this event. Oh, and they have trick-or-treating. This year I said none of that. Because by Halloween, which was actually that we trick-or-treated on the night of Halloween here where we live, I was like done. I didn't want anything to do with the candy, or the costumes were falling apart, and it's just like, it was such a headache. So this year I said no. We only did Halloween night. Now the girls the Friday before Halloween had a dance.
Okay.
And Kathy wasn't available to go to the dance, my wife. So I was really nervous because I also was the coordinator for the dance.
Oh, wow.
So I had to really supervise everything that was going on, from the admissions table to the glow stick sales and the concessions and all that. So I was constantly wandering.
And the twins.
Well, right. I was worried about watching the twins at this thing. So luckily my wife came up with a great costume this year. The girls always want to be princesses. They're 5. Of course they're going to want to be a princess.
I want to be a princess too. And I am not 5.
One of my daughters does think she's going to be a princess when she grows up, but that's a topic for another day. So my wife is always like, no, you can't be a princess. You dress up like a princess every day. You have to pick something else. So they picked to be a fairy. Oh. Because they're watching some new show about a fairy.
Okay.
I don't know. Which was great because Kathy found some ribbon that has LED lights in it. Oh. And she made wings out of the ribbon.
So you could see the girls.
It was genius.
Oh, fantastic.
All I had to do was peek in the gym, and I was like, oh, there they are. 1, 2. Got it. So, and it was easy for our friends to also keep up with making sure that they did not leave the gym.
Yeah.
But there was an incident at this thing, which, I guess parents should be aware of. Some weird guy came to the admissions table, and he's like, yeah, my niece is here, and I'm in from California, and my parents said that I could stop in and see her. And they're like, okay, well, what's her name? And he gave a first name, and they're like, well, what's her last name? And he's like, well, it might be this, it might be this. Like, he didn't know. And it was like really creepy.
No, thank you.
Right. They did not let him in, obviously.
Good call.
But just weird that something like that would happen.
Creepy.
At a school event, and I don't know.
Weird.
So anyway, we did end up trick-or-treating on Halloween night for the one and only time, and it went really well.
Yeah, that's where we trick-or-treat in our neighborhood also on Halloween. But the funny thing is, my 11-year-old and 8-year-old really could care less about Halloween.
Really?
So
did they dress up?
They did, kind of bewildering or begrudgingly. They didn't really want to be dressed up. My son went as Harry Potter, as he does almost every year, because it's very easy to just put a lightning bolt in his head and he already looks like Harry Potter. And my daughter decided to be a witch this year. But the funny thing is that my children do not eat an enormous amount of candy. And so the candy...
Is that because you don't let them, or they're just like,
I just don't think they care.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, St. Nick brings them candy. They get candy for Easter, for Halloween. They got it for Valentine's Day. This candy just accumulates at my house. And so I had an enormous bag.
Are you the family that gives out year-old?
Oh, yes. And here's why. And here is why I give you crappy candy. Oh, because we leave the house. We take the children trick-or-treating. And so
you're not there to see the disappointment on all these children's faces?
Well, no. There is no disappointment because within seconds, the bowl is empty. So bigger kids or not very well-mannered children come to my house and dump the bowl. This year, we experienced it. I can't even tell you, I could not have even made it into the house. The bowl was empty when we came back through. We come through a couple of times and check on it. And my answer is, most people who know me know not to trick-or-treat at my house until after, and you see that I am physically home and the door is open, because then I have a bag of new candy that I will be handing you. But these kids come up, take these pillowcases, dump the entire bowl in, and then leave. And so then all the rest of the kids that make it all the way up my driveway get nothing. So my daughter was still wanted to trick-or-treat, and I was cold, so I decided to come home. The bowl, as usually, was empty. So I walked in the house, dumped the rest of the yucky candy into the bowl. My husband walked outside the front door with my daughter and around to the side of our house. She had forgot her witch's hat. In the time that my husband walked back into our front door, the bowl was empty. And I'm like, I haven't even shut the front door.
Yeah.
Like, I had walked into the kitchen to get a hot chocolate. And like, I had left the door open to kind of indicate, like, hey, I'm home.
Right, ring the
Come
bell.
get good candy. But whoever came up in the 5 seconds it took me to go into the kitchen dumped the entire huge bowl of candy. So my answer to that is, serves you right. Good luck with that old Valentine's Day candy and that Easter candy and that crap from last year. And the candy that's probably white. Stop stealing the candy from my house is pretty much what I have to say. So, so if you dump the entire bowl at my house, you get whatever you deserve. So, yeah. And, because it's my birthday around Halloween, I love Halloween. I have beautiful candy in my house if you just ring the doorbell.
That's all it takes. For the record, we had our neighbor said there was 25 kids that came to their house. We left a bowl of candy outside our thing too, with 150 packages of M&Ms and 3 bags of suckers. And when we came home, all of it was gone. And the neighbor said, "Yeah, there was only about 25 kids that came up the hill." And I was like, that means somebody dumped all of our candy into their bag.
And so if you're going to do that, year-old candy is what you get.
Yikes. Okay, let's get into this episode. I'm so excited to talk to this guy. We are interviewing, Elizabeth, are you ready?
I am.
Aleks Paunovic. And you would know him from this summer's blockbuster hit War for the Planet of the Apes. He starred as Winter. He was the traitor in the movie that gave up where the apes' location was. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Also, he's starring as the power-hungry vampire Julius in Sci-Fi's amazing series Van Helsing. It premiered its 2nd season last month.
Our guest, Aleks, can also be seen on the hit BBC series Dirks Gently. We're also going to ask him about his return to the silver screen opposite Keanu Reeves in Siberia and his role opposite Liam Neeson in the upcoming film Hard Powder.
By the way, Aleks Paunovic has a film coming out that I cannot wait to ask him about. It's called Puppet Killer.
Oh, again with the scary movies. Why do you keep booking these scary movies?
Because this is awesome. This is about a puppet by the looks of the trailer that looks a little bit like Elmo.
Oh, gosh.
And it supposedly is killing people. He's in it and he's producing it. So I can't wait to hear
now
about
I
it.
really want to find out.
All right, Aleks, we're coming for you.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters, the podcast.
You're amazing. You need to come to Hollywood. I'm going to make you famous.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
There's just like security guards with like M16 holding like fans back.
Are you kidding me?
I continually will get stopped.
Can I take a picture? We're gonna. Oh my God!
I definitely declined signing body parts.
Oh, I don't want to go there.
I'm the only one that's ever spit on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
All right, we talked in our opening about Halloween, having just celebrated Halloween a week and a half ago. How did you spend the evening?
I honestly spent the evening just chilling because I was doing a few projects, and after I was done, it was one of those just relaxing times. But Halloween has always been a big thing for me, and I'm usually in some sort of, blood-filled tub killing somebody or having some kind of costume on in my work. So I'm pretty pretty much Halloween 200 days of the year.
Aleks, we always start at the beginning of our guest story. We figure that that's the best place to start. So you grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and there you had in your family 3 generations of fighters and boxing champions. So talk a little bit about your decision to follow in those footsteps, and then something happened where you left the sport. I was wondering if you could tell us about that.
Well, it was really interesting. I didn't want to follow in the footsteps, but it just kind of pulled me in. It was one of those things where, it bonded my dad and I by watching, Muhammad Ali would come on TV, and that's when we would kind of have our father-son time, and to me it was just something I gravitated way more to than I thought I would, and it definitely helped me with everything else that I wanted to do. I didn't start actually competing until later on in my life. I love the aspect of training, but I got into music quite early in my life, and then I got into acting. Just a very small bit. I got introduced to acting, but then I just started to really, when my dream of my band from high school and the band broke up, I really took the blinders off because I was so focused on that I wanted to start competing. And my dad was my trainer, and I found some success quite quickly because I trained basically my whole life. So I never really wanted to compete at an early age. It was just something that I just loved to do. And then when I did compete, I found quite some success in it. But I also, got an injury at the pre-Pan American Games when I was fighting against Argentina, and I got a shoulder injury that ripped my rotator cuff. And around the same time, I really started talking to a friend of mine who became my mentor, Rick Skeen. And I felt like, the drive and what was pulling me was telling stories and acting and that aspect of it. So I still box to this day. I love boxing. I watch the fights with my friends. But it's definitely a sport you can't go into it halfways. You need to be committed. I have so much respect for the sport. In any type of combat sport, you can't do it half. You got to kind of be full blown into it. If I can't go full blown into it, then I'd rather not compete.
So you just alluded to this, but before you started acting, even as a teenager, you were in a metal rock band called Specula Black. Is that correct?
That's right. Horns up. Horns up.
All right. So tell us about how that formed, and how did how far did the band go, and did you ever consider it being your music career?
Well, yeah. I mean, I started at 14, 15 years old, and I again accidentally dropped into it. A lot of my friends were amazing players at a young age, and a bunch of us would just go watch the band rehearse, and we would hang out after school and just watch them rehearse. And I was really loving airbanding because they would have airband competitions, and that's what I did.
So you weren't actually playing,
but I knew how to airband.
Okay.
No, I knew how to airband. I didn't know how to actually play. And then one day, the bass player for the talent show decided to quit the day before the talent show, and the guys asked me if I would step in and they would help me out with the notes. And so basically, I practiced bass with the band for a night, and then was in front of 300 kids in high school.
Wow!
And that just the energy of the crowd made me want to just be a part of it. And they were great because they wanted me in the band, and they helped me learn the instrument. And it got from, a couple of years, 16, 17, playing with the band and getting good quite quickly. And then we just started touring Canada right from grade 11, basically. We would just tour. We got a bunch of gigs to tour Canada. So we were a touring band for a bunch of years, about 8 years.
Wow.
And, but as things go on and musical differences happen and people grow, the band broke up, and that's when I just started really kind of falling in love with acting and started playing in that way.
Now, Aleks, you probably know this, but I don't think you're ever going to be able to get away from those band days, because I found you on YouTube playing in your band, and you had quite the hair back then.
Oh, yes, I had the locks. I was gorgeous.
You don't find the need to have those in any of your roles now? Is that why you got the clean look going?
Oh my God! If I could have kept it, I absolutely would have. But yeah, I decided to get rid of it. But it was fun while it lasted.
So during one of your performances, I read that you were approached for an audition at that point for an acting gig. Now, did you think that was more fate or coincidence that it happened?
You know what? Like I said, I've already said it a few times. Like things just kind of. I'm the type of guy that likes to take advantage of opportunities. I hear something, it scares me a little bit, and I'll say yes. And that's what happened with boxing. That's what happened with the music. And that's what happened with acting. It was literally one of those things where I was just after I finished playing a set, and I was going to hang out with some friends, and this casting director asked me if I wanted to audition for this movie that was in town, and I just said yes. And then I went in there, had a little bit of fun. They asked me, I don't know if you know what a slate is.
Yep.
You know what a slate is?
Yep. Did you not know how to do it for your first one?
No, I didn't. I had no idea what a slate was. So when I asked, well, yeah, I'll definitely do that if you let me know what a slate is. And then had the room laughing a little bit, and I did it, and then I got the job, and it was a movie called Hedge with Roddy McDowall, Ed Asner, Jennifer Tilly, and I just got a taste of what it was like, and it was really compelling to me. And then the other thing that pushed me again, my mentor Rick Skeen said, there was nobody in his stunt team, because he's a stunt coordinator, that was my size, and if I was interested in doing some stunts. So then that's how I kind of rolled into it. I started with an acting gig, then rolled into stunts, and then stunt actor. And then when I decided to move out west, I decided not to do stunts anymore and just concentrate on acting.
Was your family supportive of your new endeavor into acting and stunt acting?
Yeah, they were, actually. Funnily enough, my parents were very supportive of my band days also. But you got to understand, like, we were touring all over the country at like 17, 18 years old, jumping into a van, 7 of us with all our gear, driving to the next town. So my mom would say, like, my mom and dad both said, like, every Saturday night, because after we would play, finish at 2 a.m., we would jump in the vehicle and drive to the next place to be there for Sunday, and that's when we would sleep. And my parents could not sleep on a Saturday night. For the longest time, Saturday nights were terrible for them because they just knew we were driving in the middle of the night. Getting into stunts and getting into acting was a lot safer in their minds. So they absolutely supported it. I've always been a ham growing up. So, obviously every parent wants their kids to be a lawyer or a doctor, which my brother is a doctor.
Okay.
And so this is, it's funny. My brother and I are best friends, and I live vicariously through him because he gets to heal people and everything, and he lives vicariously through me because I get to enjoy my life and make people laugh or give them some sort of emotion and stuff. So it's been great. Everyone's been really supportive.
Hey, someday you might be a doctor too, even if it's just for a week.
Yeah, well, I exactly. I played one once before, and my brother was ribbing me a little bit of saying, like, I went to school for 10 years to be a doctor, and there you are spitting that knowledge right away, like you know what you're doing.
So you booked that role in the movie Heads that you talked about with an amazing cast, John Cryer, a part of that and all of that. So you played a gay butler for your first character. Since you had that...
Well, you would think he's a gay butler.
Well, I didn't see the movie, so is he not?
Well, he is / some bestiality in there. So for my first gig, I definitely didn't want to stop because I didn't want to be typecast or just known as that guy. I needed to do more in the business.
Definitely. What was it like, though, the first time you actually stepped on set?
I remember distinctly remembering how I acted, walking to the ring before a fight, getting in the ring before a fight, and then when the bell rings, that's when you feel like you're at home. But that walk to the ring and in the dressing room is the most nervous any fighter gets. There's no any fighter that says that they're relaxed at that time is lying. So, but you have to cover it, and so that's what I did. I remember what that feeling was, and I remember going, I can't be visibly freaked out right now because this all looks cool, but I feel lost. And so I put the game face on, and once I did that, I started to really drop into my body. And once we started, I felt really great. And then I remember going, this is something I definitely want to do in my life, because it was such an energy rush and it was such a collaborative thing. And I'm very much a team player. I love being on a team setting. So it definitely scared me and inspired me.
It seems from your first role on that you really didn't have any trouble booking role after role. What do you think has been your secret to your success?
Oh, I've had trouble booking. I've had a lot. I've seen people around me, my really good friends, have a lot of success, and I didn't hit it yet. And I had some great friends keep me on page and keep me on pace and keep me focused. But I did start generating a lot of work, and that has been great. And I think listening to people that have been doing it and that I respect, like, you know, Virginia Madsen, who I did a film with, you know, Academy nominated, she gave me one of the best advices, which was, you know, your job isn't to act and your job isn't to audition. Your job is to hustle. And if you can make friends with the hustle and make it like something that you enjoy and find the moments that you enjoy, because no one really loves to do that kind of thing.
Right.
But make friends with the hustle, and no matter what you do, you're going to enjoy your life. You're going to enjoy the auditions. You're going to enjoy the work. You're going to enjoy it all and enjoy the acting. But if you make friends with that hustle, that's where it kind of lies. And, you know, that was some great advice to me, and it really helped me in the room. It helped me, you know, prepare for an audition, go in, do the audition, and then let go of the audition and move on with my day. So I've been pretty fortunate with some great advice from a lot of people in my life.
You've had so many guest star spots on dozens of TV shows and movies. Do any of them stand out for you for any reason at all?
One of the biggest ones I loved was my last appearance on Supernatural, because I played a wrestler in that, and so it was such a physical role, and I've never wrestled before. I've always boxed.
Mm-hmm.
So that ring is kind of sacred to me. So I never really gave wrestlers that much respect because of how I treat boxing in that ring. And then when I started learning wrestling, and a friend of mine, Paul Lazenby, who's an avid wrestler, was helping me and teaching me, I was having so much fun and immense respect for the physical theater that wrestlers do. I got it. I totally understood it. And then on the flip side, the character that I played was such a broken, emotional character that I just really, really enjoyed that guest star on Supernatural. And it was an evolution, because I've done Supernatural 3 times in the last 13 years. And it was, you know, one was like just the beginning of the show was like a teaser, which I really appreciated. Then the next one was a little bit of a bigger role, and then they offered me this role, and I think just the history I had with the show, and then doing that kind of role as my last one, that's one that sticks out a lot.
You don't have to tell us which one it was, but have you had a role where you're like, oh my gosh, why did I take this job?
Okay, yeah.
Haven't we all?
It was a buddy of mine asked me to do, and it's a phenomenal film. It's a great film called Edward, and I love the film, and I ended up loving my part in it. But in the moment, I was not told that I would be wearing a diaper.
No.
Oh.
But it wasn't a normal diaper. It was like like an 1850s diaper, where it was just like a little piece of cloth in the front and then like dental floss up my back.
Oh no!
And I was so mortified. And my friend who got me the role started, like, you know, just only dudes do this to each other, where we kind of laugh at the other person's discomfort.
Yes.
And so he was trying to hold in the laugh of going like, this is what a diaper is back then. So we kind of need you to wear it. But the funny bit was I was so upset and so embarrassed and angry, but that's exactly what the role was in the film, because in the film, I'm literally upset that I have to wear it. So it was absolutely authentic. There was no acting involved. and I improv even a little bit, and it worked perfectly for the film. And the guys that made the film were fantastic. But I remember that being a really, like, why am I here? This is terrible.
And did you get your friend back for that lovely little trick?
Oh, no. It's payback.
It's still coming. He's still a friend, though.
Yeah. I have to keep him a friend just so I can get him back.
Right, yeah.
He'll never know when, but it's coming.
You've done...
Michael Eklund is his name. And we'll get his.
Oh, great. You've just been called out.
It's coming.
You've done quite a bit of stunt work as well. Do any of the stunts you've done stand out as your favorite?
I don't know about favorite, but there was definitely a moment in a film called Wishmaster 4 where I was supposed to pretend I'm dead, my head's down, my eyes are closed, but they're lifting me up on a ratchet, so it looks like the demon is throwing me into a big garbage bin.
Okay.
So it looks, so that I'm like hooked up to a ratchet, and about 4 guys pull the ratchet, which swings me into the garbage bin.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I'm a big dude, so they couldn't lift me high enough for my legs to get over the lip of the garbage bin, like those big metal ones.
Yeah.
So the camera is on one side, and my head's supposed to be down, and my eyes are closed, and I just gotta hope everyone does their job, and I land in this garbage bin. For 4 times they tried to do it, my shins just kept racking right off that garbage bin, and they'd have to go again. And the stunt coordinator was like, "You cannot show pain right now. This is your job." I'm like, "Oh my, just lift me higher, you guys." And then sure enough, if you happen to watch Wishmaster and just pause it a little bit, I decided to open up one eye that the camera couldn't see. And so as I'm flying through the air, about to go into the garbage bin, all of a sudden this dead guy lifts up his legs a little bit. And right away, when they didn't hear the bang on the garbage bin, they knew they got the shot. They just wanted to move on because we were spending so much time trying to lift me over it.
That's hilarious.
And sure enough, it is in the movie. It's in the movie. It's hilarious.
Oh, I'm going back to see that.
And what about maybe some stunts that you did that you worked really, really hard on and then got cut from the film?
There's some fight stuff that I've done that we put a lot of work into, like with some great fight coordinators, and just as what happens, they end up cutting the fight down just because of time-wise and just shortening it up. But nothing too substantial. But, the work that stunt coordinators do with working with the actors, and I love being able to do my own stunts fight-wise. And I have a phenomenal stunt double here who's an amazing, he's a perfect match for me. So sometimes when I can't do some fight stuff because of an injury or, I'm in hair and makeup, they throw him in there, and he's Glenn Ennis. He's phenomenal. He's one of the best stunt guys out there. But yeah, I haven't had a lot where I was like, oh, why didn't that make that in there?
Okay. Now, we've asked a lot of other actors and guests this very question, but we're always intrigued by the answer. Do you watch shows and movies that you're in?
Yes. I dig it because I like it because it brings back the memories of my experiences, and I usually have phenomenal experiences when I work. I make that a mission of mine to have a great time, regardless if I'm playing a bad guy or what the role is. I love going to work, and I love working with the people that I work with. When I watch something again, I'm reminded of those moments. I'm not necessarily watching the film. I'm taken out of that experience a little bit, but I'm enjoying reminiscing. And then I try to catch some stuff where I go, well, I remember that moment, and it didn't land the way I thought it was going to land, so I can work on that.
Now, Aleks, this past summer, you did an amazing job playing Winter in War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, Winter, of course, is that albino ape who defected to the human side. You sold out the ape colony's location. And I'm really loving the reboot of this series. So I want to hear a little bit about your experience on the film. So first of all, did you like the makeover that they gave you in post-production?
Absolutely. They did a phenomenal job. We were lucky because we got to see an image of what our character was going to look like when we got cast. So they took us through this very secretive studio and a very secretive wall of what the actual character was going to look like, so we can have it in our heads while we were acting. And I love it. Like I'm the only albino silverback in the series, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you will be remembered for sure. Tell us about, like, we watched a video on YouTube where it has a side-by-side comparison of what it was like for you, you know, with the head getup and all of that, and then what it looked like in the final version. And there's lots of dots and stuff on your face. Now, those are to capture all of your facial movements for them to make this gorilla, correct?
That's exactly it. Those dots are reflectives to show, basically giving the data to Weta, who did the visual effects, of every tiny little facial expression. And if you think about it, it's really not motion capture that we're doing. What we're doing is performance capture. And it's so interesting because, and I think Andy Serkis should be getting an Oscar nomination because, you know, like he was saying this the other day, like in The Elephant Man, you couldn't tell it was William Hurt. He had so much beautiful makeup on him. They did such an amazing job, and he performed with it. But that was William Hurt. You couldn't tell it was William Hurt. This is just the opposite, where the performance is there, and they're putting the quote-unquote makeup on it after. So it's still performance. There should be no disparity between a motion capture / performance capture award compared to an Academy Award. I think he deserves a nomination, absolutely, because he did it all, everything that he did, and it was so great to have him as our leader. You know, when we were working for the 7 months or so that we had, because he's nothing but the most generous man you'll ever meet. Period. He was so generous with his performances, so generous with his time, his energy. And it was literally one of the best experiences I've ever had in film, was working with him. And again, and if you think about the whole idea of performance capture, we have to really use our imaginations because we don't have the set in front of us. Like if I'm doing a Western, I don't have the cowboy hat, I don't have the guns. I literally just have that suit and a camera that's distracting me right in front of my face, and I have to act with another person alongside me. So we have to really focus and be committed to the work that we're doing. And that's why it's literally one of the best experiences I've had. And Weta, who did the VFX, they did such a phenomenal job in capturing everything that we did. So very proud of that film.
A little bit more about the preparation, if you don't mind. I read something where they put you through a ape camp, basically. And my question with that is, was it hard to drop your inhibitions? I mean, I know you're an actor and you can adapt to a lot of situations, but was it hard to just act like an ape?
It was interesting because Terry Nordy was the person who plays Rocket in the series. He really took us through our paces in that month. Not only did we physically have to become or learn the primate stature, but it was the emotionality. That's the thing that got me. The emotionality of a primate, there is no insecurities. So we had a lot of rehearsal time of dropping our insecurities and dropping our indications where, you know, as an actor, you sometimes have your go-tos and your little tricks that you do to kind of get into a scene or be a part of a scene. And this was all stripped away. And Terry had such a brilliant eye for when you started performing as to when you were just being. And where he wanted us was just to be, no performing. And so you would literally, you know, we would all be sitting in chairs and he would ask us to get up and walk around as a primate, but just very simply. And then I personally remember just trying to concentrate on my body movement and my breathing. Mm-hmm. That was the big thing. And then when I thought I got it, I remember just thinking, oh, it would be great if I kind of swung my shoulders a little bit more, like have a specific thing for Winter. And right when I started thinking that and my body started going to that direction, Terry asked me to sit down because I wasn't present. And I was like, how did he know that?
Wow.
Wow.
So, he was like, Alex, Alex, sit down, get centered again, and get back up. And I was like, I remember walking back going, okay, I can't, like, I just got to listen to him and just do exactly what he says because this guy can read my mind. But it was great. It was great.
Were the sounds that Winter was making, was that all you? Or did they alter?
It was all me.
Okay, so they didn't alter what you gave them in post to make it sound any different?
Not at all. Everything was me. And that was one of the things Matt and I were talking about, some kind of vocation that we can give them, some kind of, so we worked on a few sounds and I gave them some options and then we kind of settled on that. And again, it was, and you know, we had to learn like almost like a crooked form of the sign language, and it was hard not to try to be fluid with it a little bit, and we had to keep that looseness that a primate would have, even in the fingers. So that was hard to kind of keep it almost, I don't want to say sloppy, but just a little bit less fluid. I don't know if you've seen the extra features, but there's a full scene that I'm in the extra features also that they cut out for time-wise, and I totally get it. But there was a lot that we did for the film that didn't make it into the film. So we had to learn a lot of sign language. And again, it was best experience ever.
So growing up in Canada, you've experienced your share of cold weather. And since we tape here in Wisconsin, where it's the whopping beautiful 34 degrees today, it's only fair that we talk about your 2016 film, Numb. We haven't seen the film,
right?
But after viewing the trailer, it's on our must-see list. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Numb follows a trio of people who are hunting in the Canadian winter for gold coins worth over $4 million. And Alex is one of the guys. And now some people would romanticize the life of an actor, but it looks like while filming that was brutal.
Yeah, we were out in the cold. We were high up in the British Columbia Canadian Rockies, and it was because I'm also a producer in the film, and so we were working on that film for 5 years, and we knew that we needed the elements to actually have everything hit home. And we had a fantastic hair makeup department, and especially our makeup. They just kind of nailed it and kind of made it a little bit more than what it was. But it was definitely cold, and there's a scene where I go into like a freezing stream and then get submerged. And we had to do that like 5 times. It was definitely not pleasant, but I loved that. I wouldn't have wanted to do that film any other way. I wouldn't want any comforts in that film. I mean, there was a few times Jamie Bamber, who was the lead, and when I saw him do it, I go, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. Where he just took off his shoes, stuffed snow in his shoes, put his shoes back on so we would be freezing. And so I did the same thing. I put snow underneath my shirt, and so I would be wet and cold. And it reads in the film, but it definitely was trying conditions. But I wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
I can assume that weather conditions then really don't sway you from whether or not you want to take a role or not. You pretty much take on anything.
I personally would, yeah. I'm a big fan of it because I know it's a temporary thing. There's guys that work construction all winter for 6 months, and you know what I do is so small. So I don't mind putting myself in the elements.
I want to note that Numb was filmed in just 18 days, and after seeing the trailer, not only can I not wait to see the film, but it does seem like that should have taken twice as long. Were there safeguards in place on a shoot like this for the cast and crew to make sure everybody didn't get frostbite?
Oh, yeah, we definitely basically, you know, everyone was there. We had our warm-up tents, you know, and if you needed them, you were there. We had great first aid there. With no one that was, like, in risk of being hurt. It was just putting yourself in a position of, you know, how far do you want to take it. So everyone had their moments of really kind of diving into the character. So it was definitely a safe environment.
Well, that's my next question is there's a scene in there where you get into like negative 27 degree water. And how many takes does that take?
That was 5 takes.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa, you had to prepare to do that 5 times?
I wouldn't say I was prepared to do it 5 times, but we needed it. We needed it, and again, being a producer on the film, I wanted to make sure we got it. And then we had to do reshoots because we needed to see some stuff underwater, and so we had to go and do reshoots about 4 months later.
That's dedication to your craft.
It was definitely fun. I honestly, like, talking back on it, I honestly, I'm proud that I did it.
When we do this show, we have to do a lot of research to make sure we get some unique questions you haven't been asked before. So I ended up finding this Periscope video that you did with Marie, and you'll have to help me with her last name because I don't want to butcher it.
Avropoulos.
There you go. She was in with you.
I met her on her show, The 100, and we became friends. And after a conversation at the 100 rap party with a few scotches in us, I convinced her to do this really cold movie. So I got lucky.
You have good negotiation tactics, apparently. On the Periscope, a fan commented and said that they ran into you and Marie in a bar, and he got to shoot pool with you guys. He thought you were Marie's bodyguard because he was, and I'm quoting him, he said you were so massive. So obviously it was a cool experience for him. And since our show is Fancounters, we always love to hear about your encounters with your fans. Can you tell us about some of the encounters that you've had? Nice experiences, maybe some creepy fans or anything that stands out to you? We're all ears. We'd love to hear.
I haven't had many creepy experiences like face-to-face with fans, but definitely like one of my best friends is Tom O'Pennican. So when him and I go out, he was on Battlestar Galactica.
Okay.
So he gets quite a bit of fan people coming up to him, and every time when I see a fan coming up to him, I'll literally kind of stand a little taller and fold my hands and then put my finger to my ear and just kind of pretend I'm his bodyguard, and then I would rush him into a car. He can't talk right now and grab him. And it's actually quite funny to see a fan go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Then we kind of let them in on the joke. But I had an experience. I went to the Floyd Mayweather Pacquiao fight, and I went and got a beverage, and I was waiting for my friend to come back from the bathroom. So I'm just waiting there, and this big guy walked by me, and he just grilled me. He was just like staring at me in a very kind of like furrowed eyebrow look as he walked by, and I thought it was really peculiar, and he almost seemed aggressive. And I'm standing there, and he walks by, then he stops, turns around, looks at me again, and then starts like fast walking at me.
Ooh.
And so I immediately, coming from a boxer's background, I immediately put my beer down and get in my boxing stance. And he comes up to me and he goes, "I love you," and I zombie. And he walked away. I was like, "Don't do that, man. I thought I was going to fight you."
Oh my gosh.
Those are headlines you don't want the next day.
He was just so perplexed at how do I know that guy? So he had more of that, like when I think about it. But at first I thought, I think this guy wants to fight me at a boxing match fight. So
oh my gosh.
He's probably getting a little worked up with all the fights. So maybe he wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan. So that was one of my favorite experiences.
Nice. Hey, sometimes people think that the actors are like need personal assistance to get anything done in their personal life, like they can't do their own grocery shopping or pick up their own stuff. Do you have someone that does that for you, or are you able to go out in public pretty easily whenever you want to?
Oh yeah, I have no problems going out in public and having a blast, and especially when I run into somebody, and like just the other day, a cab picked me up to go to the airport. And he looked behind. Usually cab guys don't look behind you. They look in the rearview mirror. But he looked behind really hard. He was like, I met you somewhere. I was like, I don't know. And he starts driving, and it's really bugging him. I was hoping he would let it go, and he was like really bugging him. Because usually when you get to those circumstances, they want to know, like, okay, well, what have you done? And like, what, I'm going to say 100 credits at you
right.
until you say yes? I don't like. And then so I was like, I don't know. And he just kind of keeps on going. And then he goes, he turns back. He goes, "Let me see your neck." I went, "What?" "Let me see your neck." And I showed him my neck. He goes, "Oh, I thought I saw a tattoo. Because I know a guy like that looks like you that had a tattoo on his neck." And I remembered, I think I know what he's talking about. I go, "Do you watch Steven Seagal movies?" He goes, "Yes, I love Steven Seagal." And there was silence. And he was like, "Oh my God, you're that bad guy!" And then we just started laughing. And it took him about 20 minutes. It was really fun to watch him piece it together.
So I guess you don't get much, "Hey, we go to yoga together."
Yeah, no, I don't get that. No.
A lot of our listeners know you well from your vicious role of Julius in the sci-fi series Van Helsing. And you worked with the executive producer Simon Barry on Continuum, and you got to know him there. Is that how you were approached with the role for Van Helsing, and that's how that relationship started to take place?
Well, it's really interesting. I've known Simon for a really long time. We've got a bunch of mutual friends, and I happened to meet him in Los Angeles. And this was way before the Continuum days. And he was so nice and generous, and he was a writer, and I'm trying to be an actor. And so we kind of knew each other within the circle. And it was really interesting because, again, we would kind of he would always say, I really want to work with you. And you get that a lot with some executive producers here and there. And it's hard to kind of actually have that come to fruition because there's so many people that are, in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kept on saying, I'm going to get you on Continuum. I'm going to get you on Continuum. You just kind of go, I'm not really counting those cards, so we'll see what happens. And sure enough, he just called me up with the offer, and he says, I told you I was going to get you in Continuum. And so he offered me the role there. But when Van Helsing came about, I auditioned just like everybody else. And I had it was a great experience auditioning for him and Neil LaBute, who I'm a huge fan of. And I go, if you guys want me to get you coffee, I will get you coffee. I just want to be around you and Neil LaBute. I think that's going to be such a great team, regardless if I'm on the show or not. I'm watching the show because I love these guys. And I got the amazing, offer to be Julius in this, and it's been a blessing. It's been amazing. I had such a blast on the first season. Second season, even more of a blast, and it's a blessing. I've been really fortunate.
So Julius is one of those more power-hungry vampires. What exactly this season have you loved about playing him?
What's been really interesting, the first season, it's just been power, hungry, thirst, everything, about taking over this universe of vampires. And, the season's out, so you're going to see it. So at the end of season, at the beginning of season 2, I get bit by Vanessa, and she turns me human. And the switch that you get to see an origin story of how I became a vampire back in 1936, and Jackie May and Michael Nankin, who directed it, Jackie May, who wrote it, did a phenomenal job of, what my origins would be. And, because I needed a backstory when I first started playing Julius up to why he is this vicious and this mean, more than any other vampire. And I needed some grounding, so I developed a backstory. And I shared a little bit of that with Neil and the team, and they kind of feathered it in the second season. So it's a huge redemption show for me. Julius is all about redemption, all about putting himself on the line, and so it's been a beautiful character shift for me, and I'm really proud of it.
So it seems like the sci-fi genre just loves you. Do you feel that you're typecast to play those types of roles, or are you specifically going after those roles?
No, I don't know if I'm typecast. It's just, the genre is extremely popular, so it's just always around. I just finished a film with Keanu Reeves where I play, a Russian miner in Russia, and then I play a detective in this Liam Neeson movie, and so it's, there's other things that I'm doing, and but I love the sci-fi world. I think, especially now, it's getting to be such an amazing storytelling genre that I love being a part of it.
When you live in those worlds, because we know actors work really long hours, so when you're doing a Planet of the Apes or a Van Helsing and you're living in these kind of alternate realities all day long, is it hard to turn that off when you go home and just be like, oh, I got to pay the cable bill now?
It's interesting because it's such a different world that it's easy getting out of. I think it would be a lot harder if I played, let's say a policeman who shot somebody that I didn't mean to shoot, and then have to live with that. And so because it's so present in our society, that coming home with that feeling could be kind of, I think, a little bit more trying on me. But the sci-fi world of getting totally engrossed and committing to it and really dropping into the character, it's kind of easy coming out into this world because
Much more make-believe.
Yeah. Like, I'm still attached to it, and I still give it 110%. But it's a different mindset. And then, getting into a car as opposed to, a spaceship is a little different.
Yeah.
It kind of breaks me out of it.
Now, I want to talk about your theatrical releases that you just spoke about, but I told Elizabeth in the opening, this was one film that I can't wait to talk to you about. I'm so excited. I found during my research that you have a movie coming out called Puppet Killer, and I feel like watching the trailer, I have got to see this movie.
Okay, it scared the crap out of me.
So, first of all, the first question I want to ask, is the movie supposed to be scary or a little funny as well?
Right on point. It's a little bit of both. What's so great is that, like, I play a high school student.
I wondered that. All the high schoolers in that film looked quite old. I didn't know if you were supposed to be like their guardian or what.
No, when you start seeing the movie, like, there's a few scenes where I'm like, when class, that typical shot in the hallway of a school, and then you hear the buzzer go, then all the doors open, and all the students kind of come into the hallway and they're going to the lockers. I'm a part of that scene as a normal 17-year-old, and we've cast other actual 17-year-olds in it, but except for the leads, who are obviously well into their 30s and 40s, but we don't make any joke about it. We just kind of blend it in, which makes it hilarious because every horror film is about a group of high school students going to a cabin for their last trip before they go to college. So we decided to kind of do that, and then once we get to the cabin, you kind of lose the idea that they're actually 17-year-olds, but then you start following the story. So we just thought it would be great. Lisa Ovies and they did she directed, and she did a phenomenal job of kind of making sure that we don't bring attention to how old I am or any of the other cats. So it was really fun doing that 17-year-old, carrying my books and everything.
Brought back some fond memories, I'm sure.
I'm positive Nick will see
definitely.
it. I am positive I will not.
Come on, I was going to ask Aleks to send me if you need somebody to comment on it before the release. I'll be the guy.
I'm going to have nightmares for days.
Yeah, you'll be my guest. You'll be my guest at the premiere. Okay, done. We already established that.
Yikes!
I'm going to take you up. I would take you up on that. That would be great. So you also produced the movie. So was it hard, kind of balancing both jobs, where the actor wants a certain thing, producers need a certain thing of like. Sometimes producers have to deliver the reality check on set. So where did the lines blur for you?
I mean, that's the thing. Is like, for me, I enjoy being a part of the producing aspect of it, the on-set producing. I'm a big fan of troubleshooting. I'm a big fan of, things will always go wrong on set. How do we fix it, and how do we fix it compassionately without throwing anyone under the bus? Because usually somebody's responsible for something going wrong, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, they're out to tank the film or do anything maliciously. And I've seen that in so many films that I work at, that people, get in trouble, and they like, why would they want to keep doing a job that they love to do when they're being yelled at? And that's something that I definitely did not want to do. A part of this film or a part of Numb was, we just champion anybody, and especially in indie films, usually the crew are being pushed into a higher level job because it's an indie film, so they can get experience. So now that they've done it, and let's say The Flash or iZombie decides to hire people, they've done it and they can go do that job. So it's like a grooming aspect in indie films, and I want to champion that, and I want to be able to be in a situation where I can champion people, and we can troubleshoot in a compassionate way and keep moving forward. I've seen it done the opposite way, and I really want to be a part of a team that would let me do that. And being a part of the acting aspect of it was a bonus to me, because I just get to have fun. But the other aspect of being a producer and championing people, it goes a little farther than just the screen, and I really enjoy that.
We haven't been able to find a release date. When do you anticipate a general release of that film?
Because it's an indie, we're still working on the post, so we don't have a release date just yet. But
okay.
I'm hoping sometime mid next year. I'd love it for Christmas of next year. So we'll see what happens.
So you mentioned the Keanu Reeves movie that you are starring in coming up, Siberia.
Yeah.
It was not shot in Russia, though, but Winnipeg, which was actually your hometown.
They did go to Russia for a bit of it, but I was mostly in my hometown, which was phenomenal to go back and see a lot of the people that I haven't seen in a long time, worked with a lot of people that I haven't worked with in a long time. And it was funny because my mentor, Rick Steen, his sons are a part of the stunt community now. So, when I left, they were kids, and now they're stunt coordinating this Keanu Reeves movie, which was a beautiful thing to see.
Were there stunts for you to do in that film?
Yeah, I had a little fight scene with Keanu Reeves, which was quite fun.
Was he good to work with?
He's fantastic. I mean, I guy crushed. I have a guy crush on Keanu. I've been a fan of him for a long time. I just obviously Matrix and Devil's Advocate. I love the stuff that he's done, and then to work with him and how really down to earth and sweet and kind he is to everyone around him. It was great. It was great.
It looks like you have a pair of detective roles coming up. The first film is Hard Powder, which stars Liam Neeson and Laura Dern, and the second one with Tara Reid and Kane Hodder in a film called Family's Fury. Tell us what you were doing on those films.
Well, we haven't even shot the Fury film yet.
Okay.
That's still we're getting to that one. But the Liam Neeson one, Laura Dern one, it was just really cool. It's such a great script. It's very much like a black comedy, almost like a Fargo feel. And I got to work with Laura Dern and Liam Neeson, who were just extremely professional and very kind. And I've been really lucky to work with some really, really great people. So yeah, that's going to be a fun one to do.
Aleks, tell us where we can find you on social media. Where can we follow you and keep up with your career?
It's Twitter is ALEKSPAUN. And same with my Instagram is the same thing. And Facebook, I have a fan page, Aleks Paunovic. And I'm quite active on all of them. I'm loving Instagram right now. But I'm quite active on all the social media.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, you guys. I really appreciate it. That was a fun interview.
So Aleks has some pretty exciting stuff coming up. I am sorry, but I will not be seeing that Puppet Killer movie.
And I will. So I'll let you know how it is.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we have a year to go. Thanks to Aleks Paunovic for coming on our show. We really appreciate the time that he took. I know he's got a very busy schedule with lots of projects happening. And for him to take an hour out of his day for us,
we really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. You can reach us on social media if you go to Facebook and look up Fancounters. And then you can also email us hello@fancounters.com. And remember, we're still taking stories of your celebrity encounters that we're going to be reading for our New Year's Eve show, which is going to be Friday, December 29th. So if you want to email those stories to us at hello@fancounters.com, you can be a part of our show on New Year's Eve.
Yay!
Yeah. So until next week, we'll see you later.
Bye.